if you follow my work, you know that my contention is that this is a global program, and that many institutions of faith around the world, the structures of them have been co-opted into these public-private partnerships and social welfare services and sort of virtue monitoring, for good digital citizenship. And that is something that's around the world, but there are still many, many people who have a very strong faith practice, and it's diverse around the world, and they're grounded in that practice and experience, like pushing their agency through their faith. And I will say, one of the reasons that I'm doing this presentation today, what spurred it on was some energy that was directed our way, those of us who went out to Salt Lake City, that I think was intended to be very hurtful. And I think that these frequency spaces, they know, there are weapons being used against them. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about is story and what you're listening to. And this builds on a wonderful talk my friend Cliff and I had when we were out in Southwest Utah. And Cliff has spent much of his life working with his hands and using tools. And one of the things that we were talking about afterwards, he said, when you put energy out into the world, like using a tool, using a hammer, there's a reverberation that comes back. And so you have to be thoughtful about how you use your tools, because you're not disconnected from the tool and the plate you're putting your energy onto. That is all connected in a loop. And so I felt like there was a certain level of energy directed our way that probably wasn't going to reverberate well for the individuals who were sending it in our. And I just wanted to counter with this chapter from 1 Corinthians 13, primarily because I'm going to be talking a little bit about Alice in Wonderland. And I was talking with my friend Deepti, and we were talking about mirrors and this idea of through a glass darkly, which is a mirror. And so when I looked it up, I thought actually the whole chapter seemed to offer a wonderful framing for today's discussion, because I'm not coming into this information, again, much of what I share is pretty heavy, from a place of nihilism. I actually feel very much that if we can get a handle on what's happening in the world and where the hurts are and where the inflammation is, that even small numbers of people who are clear thinking people, as John Trudell has said, that we can make a difference and we can put our energy into the field, and that we can intervene and redirect some of these things. Now, can we stop all of them? I'm not making any promises, but that's the story that I'm living in. And so I think to be able to put out care and love and charity is important. And so hopefully putting out that sort of energy, it will be reciprocal, and we will have that reciprocated back onto us. So some of the passages that I've seen, they substitute love for the word charity. And that charity is essentially like the highest level of love for the entire earth, all of life on earth, is that is charity, is embedded in a loving space. And the next read aloud I'm going to be doing is going to be related to, I think I'm going to do Wrinkle in Time, because I do feel like love wins. So I want to sort of channel some of that energy. But then also, if you think of charity in the normal sense, what is happening to faith-based institutions is that they are being put into structures that will co-opt the intention towards charity to one's other human beings, people who are suffering, people who don't have access to resources, people who are dispossessed, and turning those into global markets. And I would say, for the most part, people of faith and charity wouldn't put another person on blockchain so that someone can make money off of their pain or their self-improvement. That actually doesn't qualify as charity. And so as a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is against the backdrop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which again, none of this is directed at individuals. It's addressed to systems. And I always want to say that my presumption is that people are coming from a place of good intention, and they don't know. They don't understand the bigger story. And so they're operating from a certain place, but they don't know the whole story. And so I'm here to try to tell you the whole story. And specifically within in Utah and the LDS Church and globally, charity is very, very central, and that you are sort of judged by your good works, and that charity is sort of the key to your future, like beyond death, is that how charitable you are in the real world. And so that is all being weaponized, I believe, by the social impact and blockchain identity and digital twins and Internet of Things sensors and the creation of this global networked technological brain system that is coming, that is going to be emerging out of blockchain and cryptocurrency and education transcripts and electronic health records, and that none of that is charity. So I'm just going to read through this chapter to start with, and just to sort of set a framing of, as we put our energy out into the world, that we need to center, knowing that we don't always do it perfectly, but try to center this kind of energy. So it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. But where there will be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, and I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face, and now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. And so just in closing on this slide, I just want to emphasize, for now we see through a glass darkly. And the seeing I would extend to all of our senses, because I do believe that we are, and I will sort of hopefully demonstrate this through the additional slides that I share, that we are under, all of us around the world, not just Christians, but everyone, because of the weaponized atmosphere and then geoengineering and the frequencies, that our senses, which are always limited, are being managed in ways that we cannot fully comprehend. So that which we experience, the material world, is not all. It is not all. And that one day we will hopefully get beyond the limitations of our material senses and see the greater whole. But for now, we see through the glass darkly. And so anyway, hopefully that makes sense as a starting off frame, that charity, but authentic charity, not blockchain charity.
Well, it's interesting, the charity thing, because I have a different relationship with charity in that, and maybe we're using different definitions of the word, because I've been seeing charity as a tool for manipulation and a tool for control, and to, the need for charity itself implies that there's a disparity to begin with, and a lot of times that charity comes with a reinforcement of the disparity. I don't know if that relates to any of this.
I did want to emphasize that charity, when I looked it up, because some of the frames say love.
Okay.
So you could, for every time it says charity, you can substitute love, and so that when I looked it up, it said that the charity is like the supreme level of love for all of life on earth. So It's an embodiment of love as opposed to like giving things.
Yeah. Yeah, I can align with that because I've had a pretty negative attitude about charity, and at least in the definition that I have in my own head. One other.
And I was sort of, again, I'm not an expert in this, but when I was looking up, because I saw it both ways, and it seemed I saw charity more, but they said, okay, well, charity, if you define it as like the highest level of love, not just like self-love or family love, but the love for life itself or for everything, then that's sort of the aspiration.
Yeah, I can align with that.